Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever and wherever you are, my friends. My name's Alex, and I am back with another video. I'm noticing a wee bit of a problem here, so let me fix that. For some reason, it did not start on our new video. Ha. Okay. Well, that's all right. We are going to very quickly fix that and move on with our stream. So give me just a second here. Not sure exactly what happened there, but that's okay. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not sure why it did that, but all right. We're going to go ahead and fix that thumbnail. Hey, Bo, thanks for stopping in. It's good to see you. Riley, good to see you. Let me go ahead and fix the thumbnail here. Not sure why it did that. All right. Hopefully that fixed everything. Hey, Bo, you have a good one as well. Thanks for stopping in. Okay, I think everything is good now. Let me know if there's any problems in the stream chat while I'm preparing to switch over to the live stream. In fact, the one, welcome to the broadcast, man. Yeah, of course. Sorry, guys, I'm still a little bit sick. I'm still recovering from pneumonia, so if I cough a little bit, I will do my best to mute myself. All right. I need to boot up Discord real fast and make a post before I forget. Let's see. Okay, sorry about that, everyone. Now we're back. Did I just close? No, okay. All right. For a second there, I thought I closed my program and I was about to have a heart attack. All right. So, we are good to go. The one thing I haven't seen is the chat. Oh, there's the chat box. Okay. Let me read here what Infecta1 has said, and let's see if we can't answer some questions this morning. Let me boot up my Gdevelop, and we'll go from there. Okay, let's go ahead and hide that and boot into Gdevelop. So Infecta1 asked this morning, the mechanic is an electric zap that hits multiple enemies. Each extra bounce and jump to a new enemy increases its damage. The electric zap could be a particle or a 2D sprite. I'm not sure why it logged me out of Gdevelop, or if it's just taking its sweet time. I seem to have this happening. I don't think it's a latency issue. Not entirely sure what's going on. Let's give Gdevelop another chance. What is going on? Let's close that down just to see if that's interfering. I just had Gdevelop open, so I'm not entirely sure what's happening. If I need to, I'll go to the browser and see if there's just a connection issue happening somewhere else. All right. It seems to have logged in on the website just fine, so I'm having some sort of app issue. That's okay. We can do everything inside of the application, no problem. All right. Okay, so to make a lightning jumping, let's see here. Yeah, I'm aware that I have too many apps. I no longer support Gdevelop financially. We're going to create an empty project. We're going to optimize for pixel art. We'll do a mobile desktop landscape form, and we're not going to save the project for now, I guess, because my desktop version is being complicated. Oh, see, now it wants to work. We'll go ahead and do that real fast, so that way we can have our default account. And we'll go back to the studio here. Very good. All right. Now I can close the browser version. Sorry about that. And that way, anything important that we create, I can create on my desktop. So we're going to go open new project. We're going to do it on my computer. We're going to optimize. Okay. So when working out mechanics, and this would be directed here at Effect1. So when you're working through making a game mechanic, it's really important to break down what we know needs to happen. So one of the first things that I like to do is try and visualize what we're going to be creating. So we're going to start with a new empty sprite. We're going to just call this the player for now. I'm going to create an empty object, and for the heck of it, we're going to make this thing blue. We're going to call this player so it saves into our resource folder correctly. Okay. So we have an object, and we need this to basically target another object. So the first thing that we want to do is build probably a point. One, to configure where the location of our object is. And so I'm going to start by moving the origin to the middle, because let's say we're making a top-down game. So here's our origin set to the middle, so everything rotates off the middle point. And we also have our center point, which will work for shooting lightning. So I don't need to add another one, just so much as rearrange it. That's just for my own convenience. And we're going to start adding some behavior to our object. And actually, sorry, not behavior. We're going to add some variables. So the first variable that we're going to want to create is a Boolean. And that's just a simple true or false, of course. And in this case, we're going to ask, can fire? So we know we want to check whether or not we can or can't fire our weapon. So anytime we start making some sort of mechanic every time you ask yourself, what this can do, we have to start asking ourselves the steps, right? So think of these literally as steps before we can get to the top of our action. And in this case, we need to check whether or not we can fire. And we also need to have a has target, and that should also be a Boolean. So we're looking for a target. We're looking to whether or not it can fire. And we're going to just go ahead and store target as a structure. And we're going to do X and Y. And these are going to be the X and Y position of our target. So when has target is true, we should be propagating this with our target location. Once we have a target, we need to check whether or not it has fired. And this will allow us to turn on and off elements of our game while we're going through the looping process. So if can fire is true and has fired hasn't happened, fire it, turn these off. Okay. We could maybe add another variable. We're going to do this as a number, and we'll do fire rate. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but okay. All right. So now we have the basis of what our player is going to need to be able to do. So we can add our player to our game scene. Well, computers only do exactly what you tell them to do. So for the next part, we're going to have to start creating the logic. How do all these things happen? When do they trigger? Well, before we can do anything else, we need an object to target. So we're going to name this the target. Oh, I see. We're going to create with Piskel, and just for this, we're going to do kind of an orangey red. That's just orange yellow, but that's okay. We'll do that as a target. So was hit, or is hit, maybe? Is hit. We'll do that as a Boolean. And can be maybe we'll do is target. I'm trying to think of this in my head. Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm checking chat as we are programming here. Adding multiplayer to a horror template in 3D. Multiplayer is a pretty complicated thing, but we will definitely be covering some multiplayer topics in these tutorials. I can definitely help with that. Okay. So prior to having any sort of lightning, we're going to need to first make sure that our unit can have a target and then can shoot at that target. So this is without using any extensions. So there would be some benefit to using maybe the shooting extension, the ability to like bullets and whatnot. But in this case, I think what I want to add for the extension is, or not an extension, sorry. We're going to want to add this to the game scene. It is called a shape painter. Now, shape painters are effectively a poly mesh. And so we can kind of draw any shape that we want, like an SVG, effectively. And so we're going to use the shape painter tool to draw our laser or the lightning. Well, we'll do... We're going to do chain link for now, just because I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do. The outline color, we'll make this like light blue. And we'll make the fill color a yellow, just so I can see it. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is start by making sure that we have our base logic in order. So checking our variables, we need to effectively define states for all of this. So the way that I would go about that is first checking on the player. So there may need to be more checks before this, but because we don't have player movement or anything, any sort of conditional state there to handle whether or not we're moving or not, we are going to start with just the basic variables. So if we can fire, if can fire is true, that's the whole process for this parent tree of logic. So we do know we need to check first if we can fire. But currently, can fire is off. So we're going to start at the beginning of the game scene. It was there. No, oops. So at the beginning of the game scene, we're going to set the player variable of can fire to true. And this just means because it's already set to default, this kind of acts as a debug layer. So at the very beginning of our game scene, when our player starts, since can fire is false, it'll enable it to true. So we already know that our script must be working for us to be able to shoot. So now we're going to add just a little comment just to separate so I can see a little bit more. And we're going to work on this can fire. So if the can fire is true, we want the player to target the nearest enemy. Well, let's see here. If can fire is true, we are going to search for an enemy. How are we going to do that? Let's see. Let's take a look here. We're going to pick the nearest, pick the instance of this object that is nearest to the specified position, and we're going to be checking to see if the player object, or if the target is within, we're going to pick the closest target to the player's position. And we could do that all the time. So this would be every time this rings true, which is a constant loop, keep looking for the target that's nearest. So what I want to do, though, is put that behind a condition. So that way we have a loop that's looking constantly, but only when another modifier is set. So we're going to go back to our player, and inside of our variables, we're going to look for let me see. I don't know why I tried to. I'm trying to make this. We'll just do searching. And we'll set that to true. So just by copying that down, I can change canfire to searching. So if we're searching, and just to make this a bit more clear, if we are searching, so if canfire is true, and if searching is true, well, there is no easy way to do this. Shooting lightning is a very complicated thing to do, because you have to target multiple things and then decide whether or not it's been hit to move to another object, right? Because when you target something in Gdevelop, it targets all of them. We need to specify when it's an individual and how to target the individual. So at the beginning of the game scene, if the player can fire, because this is set to a loop, because if this is true, this is constantly running 60 times a second. So once this step is done, let's pretend like that's over. Now we're going inside of that loop to see what other conditions are true. So this is constantly running right now whenever canfire is true. Now that canfire is true, we're seeing if we're searching. Since we are searching, because it's defaultly set to true, we need to pick the nearest enemy to our player. And once that's done, we can then change that target's variable to is a target to true. So we're searching, we're going to select the nearest target to the player, and we're going to set it to true. What we could do is add another layer here and say if the enemy is within a certain distance, pick the nearest one and then set its target to true. But this will happen instantly. So the very first one, this will fire. And then we're going to turn searching to false. To close this loop. If we only triggered this one time, we'd pick the nearest, we'd set it to true, and then it would disable, right? Or, well, what was I going to say? How was I going to say that? Let me restate that. My brain just had a fleeting moment. If we did a trigger once, this would fire one time once searching was true. But we don't want that. We want it to continuously search until we say it's true. So search, now that we found it, set it to true, and then turn that to false so we can leave this state. But what we should also do while we're in here is set the player's variable of target X to the target X. And we're going to move that up, and we're going to paste that, and we're going copy and paste it, right? And you can just do that by holding Control and dragging down, or clicking on it, Control-C, Control-V, and then we can fix those to Y. So now what's happening is we pick the nearest target, we target it, because it knows this is one entity. Pick the nearest object that is a target to the player. Set that target's value to is target, so it knows it's been targeted. And then set its location to the player's target X, target Y. So now the entity that is a player knows the location of the target. And now that's saved into data. And now that that's been done, we're going to set it to false. Okay, so what does that look like in practice? Let's find out. So we're going to add 2 of these. And we're going to hit preview with debugger. And now from inside of here, after this deploys, we should be able to refresh, go to our player, and see that we have a target location and that our searching is now false. Well, to move on to the next step of our process, we need to turn on that we have a target. Okay, so we're going to search for an enemy. And then we're going to say has target. And to make sure that that goes off perfectly, we need to duplicate searching, turn has target to true. Now, it's really important that because when this is true, we put turning it off at the end of that list because we read top down. And so when we get to here, if this was up here, it would turn off and before any of this would be read. So we need to make sure that we put, when we turn off a switch, it's like a light switch. We turn it on, we turn it off. Turn on, turn off. The light only works in between the on and off state. So to make that a little bit more visually clear, we're going to move that down there. After finding a target, turn off searching. Right? Now we're going to look to see if we have an enemy. So the nice thing is we just kind of copy all that, paste it again. We need to make sure it's all underneath the can fire, because this all depends on whether or not this is true. And then we can go in here and change this to has target. Okay, so now that we have the target, I could have just created a new one, a blank one, but I'm lazy. So now that this is looping, we close out of this, we turn this one's light switch off. So it's kind of like disabling it. And then now that it has a target, we're going to snap to that target. So if the target that it has is true, we know that we can fire. So that means we haven't fired. But who do we shoot at? Okay. So once we have the target, we're going to, just to make sure it works properly, we're going to do another pick. And we're going to pick the nearest object, and we're going to do it to the player dot target X. There we go. Hello. Don't do that. And the player target Y. This guarantees that we're picking the target that's inside of that location, which happens to already be that target's point. So now, if we have a target, we pick that target that's at our target location. And then we want to make sure that that target is a target, just to validate. So we can't shoot it unless that target has been targeted, right? It is a target. And because it's been targeted and the variable is hit is false, now we can do something to it. Okay, so now that we have target, player has target, select target again, validate target is ready to be shot. I don't know why I only did caps. Chat, no. That's not right. All right. Okay, so now we have the basic structure of searching for an enemy, targeting that enemy, and then now what we're going to do just to simply test this is we're going to set that target's variable is hit equal to true. Okay? So now we know it's false. So because of that, we're going to set it to true. Well, that'll stop this loop from running because it requires it to be false for this to work. So we should be able to see now in our debugger, once we update our game, and then go back to our debugger. So let's make sure our game opened. Just in case, we're going to restart it. Going to open that with debugger. We should see that this one has its target setting set to true, or is hit to true, and the other one shouldn't. So we can go to our player and make sure that we have an enemy that's been targeted. Now we can go to our enemy and we see that this one is false and this one is true. False, true. It is hit and it is a target. So now we need to actually hit the unit, right? So before anything visual happens in a game, we need to set up the backbone of how we attack things, or how we do, like, we have to explain to the engine everything that it's supposed to do. It doesn't know how to make assumptions. It only knows exactly what you tell it to do. So in this case, we know that the player can shoot. If the player can shoot, it should be searching for an enemy. Once an enemy is found, target the enemy, set it to a target, and now that we can shoot, because we already know, shoot at it. What's really fun about this is now, let's say it is hit. Down here, we could have different logic that says, hey, by the way, if I'm an enemy, and I am hit, we're just going to delete the enemy. Okay? So each version of this object needs to know, if I'm hit, if I return true and say, yep, I'm hit, delete me. Well, that should be pretty straightforward to see. Now it's gone. So we shot that one. So if that happens, we need to make sure, so this is technically when the player is shooting. So here, to make this a bit more clear, this here is the trigger point. Player shoots enemy. So if the player shoots the enemy, we need to turn that player's script to false. Player variable can fire false. Okay. So if all of this works correctly, we should see the player's variable of can fire turned to false, which would essentially disable that whole line of processing in the game logic. So in real time, the game starts like this. It looks for an enemy. It targets that enemy. It shoots the enemy. And then it sets that enemy to be deleted. And the player can no longer shoot. Otherwise, it would do this all over again. Okay, so let's look at this. That's gone. Now, if we go to our debugger and refresh our game, we should see that our player can fire is false. Has target is also set to true, which we don't want. So we're going to also make sure that here at the end, we turn off can fire. Okay. So if I updated this, go back into our debugger, refresh, go to our target, or our player, we no longer have a target, we no longer can fire. So, if I was to remove the can fire switch, what do you think would happen? Based on everything we've talked about, a little bit of homework for you guys. Now that I've removed that trigger, what should happen? Anybody? give you guys just another minute to reply. Oh, what happened there? Did I accidentally just open up another? I did. Huh? Did anybody else just see what just happened? There it goes. What was that? How? Huh? Oh, was I in the browser? I am so confused. And factor one. No? Alright. Well, for those that may be joining later on, what should happen is we should shoot that one. And then because we clear everything, it'll restart that loop. Because can fire is still true, and it should target this one and delete it. Let's have a look. Well, we have an issue. Let's take a look at it. Ah. We also turned searching to false, and we didn't turn it back on. Has target to false, searching to true. Let's update that one more time. And now we see boop, boop. It deleted both of them. And the reason is we're able to do a check and balance system to see all these variables to make sure that this logic is always running. And now a loop. A perfectly formed loop. So this is running 60 times a second to make sure that all these values are true. So now we have a script that shoots the closest enemy, destroys them, and then moves on. And our player now knows which one is the nearest. Because we select it, we have a target location, we're going to shoot it, and then do it all over again. So now that we have a basic shooting system, we can go back and add the can fire to false. And now that we have that closing part of the loop, we can refresh and see that we're now only killing the first enemy again. So that's important because we're going to shoot at that unit, and we're going to create a new object that's then going to chain between the rest of them. So what we'll end up doing is making a new object that is the lightning chain entity, and it's going to hold the value of the current target, the next target, and then draw from that target to that target, draw from that target to that target, and keep doing that loop until there's no more targets. That means that we need to have some sort of radius check around that entity. Okay, so what we're going to end up using is a ray to cast from our player to the enemy, and we're going to use that shape painter to fill in that laser so we can see it being drawn. So we could just disable this, and now when we preview our game, it won't be destroyed. So now what we're going to want to do is draw from one side to the other. Well, to do that, we have to add our chain link to our game scene. It doesn't have to be on the game window. It just needs to be in our game scene. We're going to add variables to it. Oops. So in our chain link, yeah, we can do this. We can add a variable of has target. Can bounce. And target. We're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to do an X and Y location. And this time underneath target, we're going to do count. How many have we hit? And we're going to add one more that is has bounced. Can bounce, has bounced, and has target. With a target structure with count, X, and Y in it. And much like the player, we're now going to basically create this here, cast it, and it's going to keep track of itself, and then we're going to delete it. Or reset it in this case. So for now, once we have drawn this part, let's see. Now that we're shooting here in the enemy shooting script, we're going to, above it, check if we have a target. So if the player has a target, we're going to don't we have, what's the I forgot Gdevelop's call for drawing a point, drawing a line. Hello? Oh, well, for one, I should not be in objects. I believe it's a line tool. There we go. It's just a line. We're going to use the shape painter, and we're going to draw from the player X, and we're going to actually do point X, and we're going to pass through the center. And this just means we're shooting from the player center in the X and Y location. And then, hello. And then we're going to target the player dot target. Oops. X. No, that should be fine. Oh, X player target X. That's not good. There we go. And X player target Y. And thickness will do 2 pixels. Let me see about this. That's because we're turning off the target here, just to see if we can get this drawn right. Now we can see we have a target. We're now drawing to our target. Now the reason why it's up here is because our target never had its origin point moved to its center. Everything in Gdevelop is based on the origin of an object. So now we can see that we're targeting the origin. Hey, Thomas. I am a programmer. So now inside of this whole loop, we have the ability for our player to target an enemy. When that happens, we're going to draw it to that point. And then now we can start branching that from there. Now this is rudimentary because we actually don't want our player to do the targeting. We actually want the shape to do the targeting because it's technically our object that is chaining to other objects. And that's why we added, so if we go backwards, we're going to copy this and we're going to go Control Z. So once we're in here, before we turn all this off, what I want to do is set the variable of its position first. So once the player has a target, we're going to set its position to the player X position. And again, we're going to want to do point X. Oops. And we're going to do center. And then we're going to do the same thing on the Y. So now we have a point X and point Y. And we're moving that as soon as we have a target. And so what we can do is just do this. So once we have a target, set the chain link to the player's position, because we're about to shoot, because we can shoot. And then once we shoot here, we're going to then draw that line. And so rather than putting it inside of the player's script, we're going to pull it out. So here we set its position. And now when we go to fire, we're going to set the chain links, or we're going to draw that line, or wait, no, Alex, you're getting confused. We need to, I was right first. We need to set the variables to X here. So target X is going to be target. The object is X position now. And I guess to make it more clear about what we're doing, we're going to set it to the player's target. So player target. So once the player targets an object, we're going to set the chain link target X to the target of the player's X. And we're going to do the same thing on the Y. So we're just going to duplicate that, change this over to Y, and change this to Y. Now we're going to move this up. And so the whole process now looks like this. When the player can fire, we're going to search for an enemy. Once we've found the enemy, we're going to set the target X of target Y of the player to the object of target's X and Y position. So we're going to select its coordinate. Then we're going to turn searching off because we found it. Once we have the target, we're going to make sure we target it again. And then once we have that target queued up, we're going to move the chain link to the player's position while this is true, while we have the target. It's going to target the enemy and make sure it's available to be hit. We're going to set it to be hit because we shot it. We're going to turn off all those player mechanics that decide whether or not we should be targeting and chasing an enemy, basically. And then we're going to set the chain link's target position to what the player is targeting. Because in the next step here, we're going to add one more variable. And now we can set that we have a target to true. Let's go ahead and move that right below. So we target, and now chain link has a target. So we can do the same thing and start a new chain and says, hey, if you have a target, let's draw a line to whatever that target is. Oops. So now we're going to do draw, or rather line. And I believe, there we go. We're going to target the shape painter, and we're going to do chain link its position. So that's chain X. And this one doesn't have a center position. One second, nothing. I'm reading what you said. And let me finish my train of thought here, and then I'll give you a helping hand. So now that we have the starting position from the chain link's X and Y position, because there is no origin or center, technically, it's just its X and Y. That would be its origin. They don't have points, is what I was trying to say. We are now going to target the chain link's target position of X. Hello, don't do count. I don't know why you did that. And copy paste, do it for Y. We'll do this in thickness of 5 just to make it a little bit more clear. So if we have a target, we should be drawing between those 2 points. I'm not precisely sure what just happened there and why it moved so far away. Let me look at this. We're just going to move that here. Set the position of the chain link to I'm not sure. We're going to go ahead and try something real quick so I can debug this. I'm actually not sure why exactly it did that. Interesting. So the shape painter must draw from an object other than itself, I think. Which would make sense. It does actually make sense to me. That's fine. We can still do this all the same way. We're just going to set the chain link target. And it has a target. And we should be able to see that now inside of the debugger. So we're going to preview. And obviously it does have a target or we're going to be drawing correctly. But we want to make sure that it has a target and the rest of its variables are set. Okay, now let me go over here to nothing and answer their question. I want to have any X object with an ID greater than 0 to move itself to the point named tip of the X object whose ID is 1 less than its own. Okay, so you're talking about trailing. You want to chain link items together, correct? Okay, so this kind of has a lot to do with what we're doing right now. So let me save this because I'll come back to this because I think the people I'm teaching are not here. Well, that's okay. So basically we're making chain linking here where we're going to jump from one sprite to another, right? So I'm creating targeting. We're going to create a lightning strike that chains from one unit to another. And that's basically what you want to know how to do. There you are, Infecta 1. But you're just going to end up moving them closer together because you're going to do something like centipede or something where they're overlapped. Or some degree of that, nothing. I just want to make sure I understand. I'll wait for nothing to explain exactly what they want to do so I can make sure I help them correctly. Okay. You're drawing a straight line. You want to dynamically change the number of the objects. So on the fly, if you add more, it will add more to the link. Got you. I understand. Yeah, yeah. I will read it if I need to, but I'm pretty sure I understand exactly what you want to do. So it depends on how you set up your loop, first of all. Let me go ahead and grab these and put them under a new group. I'll put that back in here. This will be called we're just gonna put that there and create a new group. All right. So first of all, as you said, we need to create a ticking mechanic. You already have a ticking mechanic, but I'll have to create one myself just so I can emulate what you want to do. We're going to call this line cube. We're going to create the line cube as blue, or we'll do like green. Okay. And this needs to have a variable of ID, right? So we have two things that we need to do, right? We need to know how many there are, and then we need to create a link of them. So each object in Gdevelop can have different variables independently inside the editor. So I can mock this up, first of all, by doing this. 0, 1, 2. So like you said, you're starting your count from 0. So we're going to create a scene property, and we're going to call this one unit count. We're going to do it for each instance. For each number of these guys, do this one time, which you probably already have. So for each instance of the object of line cube, we're going to trigger this once. And we need to do two things. We need to up the scene counter. We're going to add 1. And then we're going to set the ID of the line cube to unit count plus 1. And normally I would do unit count after. So I will go set the line cube variable of ID equal to, it depends. I like to count from 0 because I'm a programmer, and that's what I like. I've been trained to do it that way, but we can do this backwards to emulate your system. So your system's like this. We're going to add 1 to the unit count. We're going to set the ID of that line cube equal to unit count. And that's what we do, right? So now we should have a line cube with our numbers 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Add 1. I guess I could just do it this way, right? Add 1 to the unit count, set the ID. Well, that should, let me clear this. We have 3 line cubes. Now we should have 1, 2, and 3. There we go. It was being buggy because I didn't restart it completely. So now we have 1, 2, and 3. So we have a progressive loop. I assume this is how you have it in yours. Very, very simple, very easy way to count how many objects we have. Now what we need to do is that we have effectively an array right? Or we have an ID counter of these objects. The next thing we need to do is start drawing from one to the other. Well, you can, but this is where we have to target via ID. So you're trying to handle this by chaining, you're using the object itself to target another object. This is really difficult because you first have to identify which version it is. So basically we have to say if the ID is not equal to myself, target the next one. So first target me, then target the next one. But we actually don't need to apply any more logic to the line cubes. We need to do that to your line tool. Okay, so we're going to create your new shape painter. That's the way to do your line tool. So the shape painter, we're just going to do this as line, and we'll do this as you do. You have to add a shape painter first to access it. Everybody does. It comes built into your thing. To be able to draw that line and visualize it, you're going to want this tool. So once you add it to your canvas, it can be anywhere. It could be outside. Right, and I'm telling you that you're going to need to use more than the sprites. You want to draw a line between these two, correct? And then potentially to this one. On the fly. So every time you add a new one, you want this to automatically extend to the next. That's what I'm understanding you want to do in Gdevelop. There are a number of ways to do this, but this is the simplest one. I'm going to make sure that we're on the same page here before I continue, because I don't want to... So you want to chain it like that. You're making centipede. What's up, Zero? Okay, so yeah, you don't need that then. Okay, now I understand. So you have the right idea. Okay. So now I get what you're trying to say. Zero, what are you talking about? Just to make sure I understand what you're saying, dude. Yeah, okay, mine was not straight, but I get what you want it to be straight. So what we have to do is put our origin point to the middle to make sure that we're using the centerpiece. And we need to add 2 points back. Okay, so previous. Right. And then or you said tip. Okay, we're going to call it previous and tip. Oh, I see what you're doing. You're saying to program it through the editor instead of using the visual tools. I get what you're saying, Zero. That's not bad. Certainly. Let me just set these up. So to make sure that they're on the same line, right, it needs to be 32 and 64, and then we need to do 0 and 32. So now we have a straight line. So now that we have a counter for our cubes, we need to move them progressively. Let me think about this. It would be easier to add them to an array and then process through the children of the array to continuously add to it. But I'm trying to think about the way to make this. That's not a bad idea, Zero. I hear what you're saying. Do it all programmatically and then teach them the visual way first. Yeah. So that way it's all in one location. That's not a bad idea. I'll think about that in my future tutorial things. Okay. So now, effectively, if we're going to do this manually, right? So we're going to say if the variable, so how do we target our own self? If the variable of ID is equal to 0, or in this case, 1, we're going to, well, we'll do greater than 1. We're going to do it manually. So 2. So we need to start with the second one. Let's say we only have 1. We automatically know that 1 already exists. The next one is if we have ID equal to 2, so greater than the first number, we need to snap it to the first one. So if the ID of the cube is number 2, we're going to, I believe we can, let me think about this, but I think we can just pick all of the instances. And then if the picked ID is equal to 3, move the cube that is 3 to the position. We're going to try this and hope that it works, and then work from there. Equal to line cube ID. No. Line cube, sorry, dot position point X, and we'll do the tip. And we're going to do that for Y as well. And now, if my memory is good, okay. We lost number 2. Oops. We need to trigger that one time. And there we have it. So 3 is connecting to 2. Let me move it. It looks a little funny right now because it's not balanced. So we can fix that. Going to our game scene. We're going to put these down here. So what should happen, and I did it backwards, I'm pretty sure. So let me remove this one. Did I bugger that one? Let's make sure that they're all 0. Go back to our debugger because I broke something. If the line ID is equal to 2, change the line cube. Change the if it is equal. Hold on. My question is, why is that one moving? Let me run that again. Run the previewer. You know what I need? Hold on. I always forget about this tool, and I recommend everybody does it. It's nice. At the beginning of your game scene, we need to add the draw debug. This thing is really nice. Put it all to yes, hit update, and now inside of our game, I can see where we're overlapping. So now, can I just move that there? That should work better. No, now it broke. Okay, so if Funk, it is really good to hear from you, sir. I have things to talk to you about too. It is. I'm glad to see you stop by. That's amazing. Zero, are you still here? I'm thinking Zero in my head, mostly out loud. How is this one not being targeted? Let's. I want to do it this way. But then that doesn't work. If the line ID is equal to 0, pick all the instances. It's not under a repeat. They're not nested. Oh, you're talking about this? Oh, you're right. You are right. I think that should have set them right, or do we still, or does the number one not work? I always forget about that in Gdevelop. You are correct. I just forgot how it works. Is it? No, it's counting them. ID 1, 2, and 3. Oh, what's up with my voice? I'm sick right now, Funk. I am currently sick. So yeah, in your face, Zero. What are you talking about? It counted all of them. And now the unit count is 288. Three. 1, 2, 3. Is it that then? Thanks, Funk. What is happening? No, okay. We're almost there. I just have to remember how this flows in Gdevelop. Give me a second. So after we count them, I want to do this an easy way, but this is actually not going to be easy. So basically, nothing. What we need to do, I need to just rack my brain around this for a second. Um. Okay. We need to draw a line. We need to put the cubes on top of each other like this in a straight line. So what I've done is I've added points. Seen instances count. What? Oh, I see. Well, you don't need to actually draw a line. Yeah. You're trying to space them out programmatically, which makes sense, right? So for each number in a row, wait a minute. To what purpose are you trying? Hold on. Because if you're just trying to build a grid, my friend, there's a much easier way to build a line, a straight line of blocks. Do they absolutely need to be connected, though? That's the question. Or do they just need to be printed in a row? Because I'm about to blow your mind if it's just counting in a perfect line. I just realized that I was going about this a very complicated way. Well, no, okay, but a grid is just a row by a column. They're not static. So they need to become a moving object. Okay, so like it's going to become a platform and do this. Just for example, to make sure that I'm understanding that we're just talking about an X position movement. How are you moving the cubes? Physics? Because now, depending on your answer, we have a couple of different options. One of the things you can do is simply just link. You're making arrows shooting where the plane is turning. I have played War Thunder. But you're playing in 2D, not 3D, right? Okay. So you're making the arrows showing where the plane is turning. Because if you're gonna do cubes, right, you're only gonna be able to do this, basically, right? Rotate it like that. And just making sure that that's what you're trying to achieve. A block that does this and or moves like that. Well, okay. So that's interesting. Funk, right now I'm helping with other people do some tutorial stuff. Just teaching them the basics of Gdevelop. What nothing is trying to do is a bit more complicated, because not only is it now connecting them, we need a way to connect them, but one of them has to become the parent, which will end up being, you want the tip to become the parent, right? So whenever you add a new one, we're leading by the front, not the back. Which one of these blocks becomes the leader? Because for us to follow a point, I'm assuming you want the highest number to be the front. So every time we add a new block on, we're not adding it to the back, we're adding it to the front. Because if not, we need to do this the other way. Yeah, but where are we steering? Right? Because you got to remember, one of these, if you're using an object, one of these is going to become the parent. And when this one rotates, the rest of them will follow. So are we front wheel or rear wheel driven? They can't become one object. I mean, they will be one object, but you got to think about the game Snake, right? So you're like, so let's say, for example, you're playing this game and in the middle is an indicator that decides which way you're turning. If I turn to the right, the main block rotates to the right and then creates the blocks I need to say, hey, we're moving this direction. Like an arrow. Hey, we're now moving this direction. Right, so the leftmost would become the center. We're pivoting off that leftmost position. But in this case, now it's not the leftmost because we've rotated it this way. But we are pivoting from the parent cube, which is the very first one. Just making sure I'm understanding what you want to do. Because it does change the way that I'll have to link them together. Okay. So this does work just like an inventory, by the way. So when we develop your blocks, right, we want to turn them. Okay. Copy. All right. So the first thing we need to do is make the mechanic for printing your blocks. So the first thing that we have to do is actually not dependent on the blocks at all. Oh, funk. That's a good point. That is kind of how this works. That's a great way to think about it too. Because programmatically, building an inventory is just moving squares to the left and right of what you're doing. So, the first thing I'm going to do, because it's been a minute, is I actually have an itch download for this. And I'm just going to pull it right off of that so I don't have to fiddle and remember anything. Because my brain is mush. We want the inventory tool. Just so I can very quickly do this. Okay. I last worked on this in February of 2014. Okay. So I just need to open, I'm going to put this on my desktop real quick. And we're going to open another thing of Gdevelop. So you're right when in your math there, nothing. Let me open this back up. So you have the right idea when it comes to creating. Oh, you're fine, Funk. You haven't distracted me. I was thinking to myself. Okay. So let me move this over. so I can just pull this up and show you. Okay. So when drawing our inventory, right, we have an X and a Y. So let's say, for now, this line cube is going to be our inventory for a moment. It needs a couple of variables. It needs max count. Okay, so like how long are these cubes? And if you want to do it programmatically, we need max. So let's say for now, they're 5 long. If we do 6, it's 6, it doesn't matter because it's just going to keep creating to the right for as many of these as there are. And we can update it in real time whenever we need to add more or less. So we're going to do that. We're going to start with that number row. Let's see. We don't need... thinking in my head here. Okay. So we're going to do this programmatically. So now that we have 5, okay, what we can do is in our script here, we can say, we can repeat for a number of times. And so we're going to go repeat. And we're going to do it. There it is. Repeat a number of times. And we're going to repeat this a number of line cube dot max size. Okay, so as soon as we can, we're going to create our blocks in this order. For now, because we don't have, we're going to delete this cube from our space. We're going to do it all from right here. So at the very beginning, we're going to create an object, and we're going to create that at the center of the screen for now. So we're going to do screen width divided by 2, plus the size of our object, which is 32, multiply by 1, because we're not changing the X grid. And yeah. Normally, so this here would be the number of rows. So how many X rows are we, or how many in the X row are we going to do? So actually, I lied. Because we do need... hold on. Y position. We need to multiply by the number, the X location in our inventory slot. So, height divided by 2 plus 32 times. So we need to add a multiplier based on where its number is, because right now it'll stack them all on top of each other with this logic. Okay, because right now we're just getting the screen height and we're adding 32, adding 32. So for now, that would create technically the inventory doesn't count, like there isn't one currently. So putting the variables for ID and max size doesn't work here for that reason. So we have to add it to the scene properties instead. So we have a unit count, right? And then we need a max count. We just do it this way. We were already doing it the right way. I just buggered it up. So now, because we can just do max count. So right now, nothing. Go back into our max count, set it to 5. We'll set it to 1. preview our game. Hey, look, we have one. So from the center of the screen, we moved over 32 and 32. So it's up and over. Why are there two of you? Oh, because of this? That's silly. So first of all, right, now we just have, what is happening? I'm silly. That's what's happening. Okay, so now we're programmatically creating our inventory. So now that we have created our first part, yeah, I know. I fixed it. I'm tired, man. Give me a break. Okay. So now we have up to a count of max counts. Every time we create the object, we can then increase the total unit count to +1. And then change the created ID to that ID. So that one should now have an ID of 1. It does. So now we can merge that into one thing. So at the beginning of our game, we're going to create this a number of times equal to the max that we have. We're going to add 1 to the count and then set the ID of that cube to that one. But we're not moving its position. So what we can do is start by giving it a grid X and Y, or grid count. So this would be grid X count, and we'll just do 0. And for the next one, we'll do grid Y count. This is irrelevant, but this is important to understand. We'll do both of these at 1, and we'll do max count to 5. So actually, times grid count X. And then this one we could just do 1 technically. Should be fine. We're going to update that. Let's see if it actually made 5 of them. It did. Okay, so now we're creating 5 of them, more or less, on top of itself. Every time we create a unit, we need to increase the grid X. So we're going to go variable, grid count X. We're going to add 1 to it. So now what we should see is them spread out. There they go. So 32 wasn't far enough. But do you see what I'm saying? So now we have them all overlapping in the middle. Because these are actually 64s, we can change 32 to 64. So this needs to be the size of your cube, the texture size. And now we have a fully engrossed line to the right. So now we're printing in a straight line. If we were going backwards, we would just negative count. If we were going up, this would remain there. And we would do exactly the same thing here. Grid Y count to go up. Oops, we need to do grid Y count. Or down for positive, up for negative. Its positioning is weird because it's based off the center. But we can move that location anywhere. So now we need to create this from a base cube. So now we can print left, right, up, or down. The next thing that we need to do right, now they need to move. Well, that's once we create this mathematically, we can say that this is now an object. And what we can do is link them all together. There's actually a physics tool to do this. Let me look at this. I think it's... Well, we can physically link the objects together to make them part of the same group. And then we can also do... give me a second. What's the physics thing? How do? Link? Is it like a... It's in here, I think. No, it's not. Is it? I think it's a behavior. Let me think about this. Weld point. Add. Yeah, I'm talking about the what's the physics? It's the 2D physics engine. And then we can create... How do we make the weld? I can't remember. There's a thing for this. Weld point. Give me a second. I'll remember it. I have not opened Gdevelop in months, to be honest. Oops. Cancel that. I'm looking for joints. Is that a joint? Oh, that we got all sorts of crazy there with that object. So yeah, it's a 2D joint. Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, so what we can do is, what my idea here is, because now this is dependent on the person. So now that we have got this being created, we can use these tips to weld them together so they become one object. And then we're just targeting the lowest number in the array to push it, which would be 1. So once we link all of these together, we can then push just one cube and make them all to move together or rotate together. Because right now, they are programmatically built, but that's no different than putting them physically on your canvas. We need to make them one piece. We could link them all together using the link feature, like this. And then we can link each individual 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and they'd all now inherit physically from each other. But honestly, like, if it's just an arrow you're trying to draw, I would just use the line tool because it's going to be much easier. But you want to use cubes. Yeah, I could, but that's complicated. Gdevelop has a lot of features built into it to support making that simpler. I don't want to do trigonometry if I don't have to. But give me a moment here to think about this. Because what you're wanting to do is kind of unique in the way that you're handling it. Because personally, I would just use a painter tool and draw a line from point 0 to maximum point this way. There's only so much screen space, so I'm wondering why you're trying to do it through cubes. Can you explain that to me? I get what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to make a dynamic length point, but we could just do that with a line by taking it and drawing it from the center to here. That's programmatically designed on the pre-built width of the canvas. So the anchor points will always be the same. So adding more cubes seems irrelevant because eventually you do this. This would take you a minute, this method. Putting the painter tool into place, drawing it this way. Drawing it that way. Wait, what? I thought you specifically asked me for cubes. Arrows. Don't use an arrow. Use a shape painter. Because shape painters can... Okay. Okay. Hold on. Wait a minute. You don't want to consume... Okay. I'm not doing it using cubes. I'm using arrows. I see. But you're just drawing the line from the point to your mouse click, right? That's what you want to do? Are you talking about an RTS movement? I'm going to have a panic because I just realized what I think you're trying to explain to me. I should have just read Discord. You want a line from your ship to be drawn. No, I know, but we're we're talking about the line, the path line, the movement path. Because okay, you know what? I'm gonna go read Discord. Yeah. Okay. Check this out. I'm gonna show you something. We're going to draw a line always using the line tool from the a tiled sprite would do the trick. That's one way to do it for sure. If you wanted to use your own custom things, but I'm. Why is it doing that? That shouldn't happen. Oh. Well, that's irrelevant, right? Because I'll explain that in a second. Hold on. Okay. So ignore for a minute the fact that it thinks my cursor is where it is. We can adjust that. But, right, the beginning and ending point doesn't matter because we can set it to whatever you want. But when you click the mouse, we can get the mouse's X and Y coordinate of the click. Does that make sense? And then draw from your object to another object. You're just trying to draw a line, aren't you? Because this can be drawn to anything. Any two shapes, any two directions. It doesn't have to be constantly drawn. It can be drawn like this with an arrow. With an arrow, with an arrow, because that's what you want. And this can work while it's moving. So let's say, like an RTS, you had one unit here and one unit up here. It would draw to that location, and then as you move to it, it would get smaller, or as you moved away from it, it would get larger. DM me directly on Discord so I don't have to go look for your post, if you don't mind. Perfect. You might get yelled at for pinging me, but that's fine. I'll... Oh. Okay. Yes. Okay, that is an RTS movement, my friend. A point to click movement is all I meant. So, for example, let's say this is your plane. And this is the location, your target. Let's say this is going to be wherever we click, right? So just to represent that, we're going to pretend that this is our airplane. So now, let's see. What up, Scrubs? What up, chat? We're gonna put its position to the see you later, Funk. It was great to see you too, man. Oh, that's why. I'm silly. Alright. Now I've got a whole nother way. Will do, Funk. It's good to see you too. Okay, so when the mouse is clicked, right? So let's say when mouse has been released. When mouse has been released, we're going to set the position of the target to cursor X, cursor Y. Okay, pretty straightforward. So first of all, what that's going to do is it's going to move that block to wherever I'm clicking. Beautiful. So that's going to be that point after you click on your guy. We're going to change line cube to unit. And now what we're going to do is we're going to draw from the unit x. Currently, I am helping nothing figure out how to draw a line between their objects here. Let me see this real quick. Draw from unit X. If left mouse button has been released, to target X, target Y. I'm getting a lot of text, so here in a second I'm going to have to get up and go check my phone. But we should see, okay, minusing the fact that the line shape tool is bulky and I haven't configured it right, you want that. Just making sure. But you want it to stay. Right? So like, we can certainly fix this. Goodness. But you want it to actually be positioned right. It's being a little goofy because we're not using we should be using point X center. Let's make sure. Hello? I'm still not entirely sure why it's drawing from there, of all places. .32 by 32. Yeah, and you're talking about the points moving as in the unit. Yeah, well, I'm okay with physics in Gdevelop, but it depends on what you're trying to do. Right, so this would dynamically move. So, for example, I'm going to do a right click. And so if right click is touched, we're going to move instead of the... There, we're going to do it like this. So what you're saying is you want that to happen. Literally that. So that way when the object moves, it gets closer and farther away. Okay, well, that's all you need to do. You just need to fix your points. Your shape points. So that they're drawn properly on the right layer. So you have to go through and you have to make sure that you set your layers right. Make sure everything's drawn correctly. And then that's it. So basically you need to queue it up. So once this is drawn, you do it like on a click, right? So, oh, I have it selected. I click. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, platformer physics I can definitely help you with. Right. Shape Painter, the method's the same. What I'm saying is you have to draw from the center of one to the center of another. You can use any other tool, right? You could use, for example, you want to use a sprite that does that instead. You're just drawing it from one point to another. The method is exactly the same. I just use the shape painter. You can use a texture. You just have to target using its origin point and then stretch it. So you have to set its angle. Okay, so to stretch a sprite, we have two ways of doing that. We have scale, right? Scale on the X, scale on the Y. That just makes it longer or shorter. That's not what we want. We want to move its point, right? We want to move the edges. So what we want to do is This is where we got to do math. Because what we need to do is take the left side of the box, the bounding box. Okay. That's because you're using... You mean... Okay, you need it to be a tiled sprite. Not a... Because you want... Yeah. So, right. So this works the same way. It's different. You just use a tiled sprite. Let me show you. So if I created this in Piscal, what you're saying is you want it to have a chevron, right? Let's say, sorry, forgive my very quick arrow. Okay, but let's say that this is the arrow that you're using, right? We need it to be repeating. That's fine. It's repeating. So if I was to add this into the game, rotate it in the right direction, and see, but we would scale it like this. Hold on. Give me the thing. So tiled sprites, first of all, should be facing the right direction. So everything in Gdevelop is based on the right when it comes to sprites. So we need to rotate it that way. And then when we use our grid, it does that. That's what you want. But then you want that to rotate like that. You want that. With the target point right there. Right? Okay. So did you see what I did? So you need to make a tiled sprite. It needs to be facing the right direction, because what we're going to do is we're going to stretch it on the width axis and then rotate it. That's all you have to do. It's that simple. Okay. Well, that's because the origin is always right here on a tiled sprite. You can't change its origin point. So that means it will always draw from this corner. What do you mean? Okay, so we're going to do this once. And we're going to take this. We're going to do 64. Okay. So well, the center we'll do 0. I see no problem. What are you talking about? Looks fine to me. Okay. That's fine. You just divide it by 2. And now you get the end. Okay. So Yeah, of course. Or are you talking to 0? We shouldn't change the width to the position. That's not how that works. That's bad math. Well, the reason why that's not working is because it's bad math. That's because then you're getting the distance, right? But then you're applying it from the middle section. You're not resetting once you stretch it, you have to constantly reset it. Yeah. So once you scale it, what's going to happen is it's going to scale from the center. So when you get the distance to the point, right? So let's say we're going to rotate that, right? But then we're going to also get the line, and we're going to, the angle's already fine. So now we need to get the width, right? So I know. This is because, boys, that's because I know math. It's an expression. I did forget the call though. 0. You're close, 0. You just forgot to move the. So once we get the position right, that's gonna give us a scale distance, but that doesn't take into account the size of the sprite or moving its position because it's going to stretch from the center. So we can move the position to unit dot x position. We're going to do point x. So this will be center. And now what's going to happen, we already know, right? It's going to now stretch to be funky. I'll show you. So now I forgot to attach it to the. I'm not sure why that isn't working though. Move the shape painter. Am I using the right one? First of all, I'm not even using a shape painter anymore. What am I doing? What am I doing? No, don't worry, boys. My brain. Okay. All right. So we're seeing that it's centering off of its position, right? So now we need to minus half of it. So on the Y position, we're going to add, or minus 16, because that's half of the. Hello? There. So now we're centered. Its position is up here. It's a little high, but it's building it more or less where it needs to be built. Off the front, the tip of the plane. And to move that, we need to do the exact same thing here. Not quite enough. Let's do 32. Well, I haven't stretched it yet. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because I'm telling you, because watch. This number needs to become half of the value of. What do you mean? That will break it. It'll have to be width, right? I'm pretty sure. Because if we did that, we'd have to do it from. Yeah, no, it would have. That wouldn't be right. So basically, right? So just the way that this math works, just to make sure that we're talking the same language, to make to I know what mine is doing is working. So if we stretch this, the center is going to become here, right? It's always going to do this. We're centering it like this. We have to divide it by 2 to get it to move here, because we're halving it. So every time we stretch it, we need to divide it by 2. And that's how we always get it to position in the right spot. So here, we need to add the new tiled sprite width divided by 2. And look, now it's always rotating from that position. So now it's rotating off the center. We can bring that back a little bit. We'll do minus 16. Now we have that part. It's not great. I would prefer that to be dead center, to be honest. Okay. Because we know that the ship would be moving too, so it won't look as janky as it does right now. But now we have this position. So now every time I increase the width, okay. So let me just, for now, set the width of this to 100. What should happen is exactly what I said. Nothing's changed. And if you really wanted to be fancy, watch this. We're going to set this one to -1. Okay. Oh, not quite. I almost got it. Watch this. Oh. And now if we rotated the cube, you wouldn't even see the arrow behind it. So we could move that point around, right? The ship should always be facing. So the parent is now the cube. It's always off that cube, so we want the cube angle. Okay. So every time we change the position, we're going to rotate the unit towards the target as well. Okay. Okay, so not quite great, right? Because we're rotating the target, but we're not positioning off the center. So we want to do tip. Well, that's being funny. But with a little bit of tinkering, I can fix that. I'm just trying to think in my head. Yeah, so now to stretch it to the target, we just need, I need to get the, and zero's right, I need to get the distance between these two. 0. What is the call to start the math on that? I can't remember the, is it an actual... Oh, I'm in actions. You mean it's a condition? All right, yeah. Copy. I just don't remember... I don't remember the call. like what I know it has to go into a setting, but I cannot remember the actual like position call. What call is it? Do you remember? Or should I just put that into like a variable? I guess I could just make a variable, right? But I don't want to change the position. I want to get the position into a variable, which is fine. I can do it right here. I'll just add a local variable, right? I want to retain that as a variable. So that way at all times I know what that distance is without needing to change its actual position. That's what I was trying to remember. But that's fine. We could do it here. So change the unit point. Okay. Angle and distance. Hello? From distance. Unit. Angle to position. I guess I don't need to get the angle to the... I need to get angle to position and distance, don't I? Well, I'm feeding that twice. No. What am I doing? Player. I'm like, yeah, I know math. This should be unit. Angle to position. Position should be target point X center target point Y center. Am I missing something? I am. 1, 2. And then we need unit all good. That's a problem. Hold on. Thanks. What have I done? It's missing. No, okay. So that's what I thought. Well, the issue with that is that we're not actually scaling. We're changing the position. Ah, yes. Yes. Thank you. Indeed. I was thinking it's been a minute. I'm sitting here tinkering and I'm like, this isn't quite right. Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Zero. Did you get it to work? I'm going to preview your build. I'm going to judge you. Oh, you did do it. Look at you. I told you. Okay. With Zero's help, we were able to quickly resolve the issue. What the heck? What is happening right here? What happened to my Gdevelop again? Hello? Maybe project not found. What? What? Dude, Gdevelop is borkin. Open a project. My computer. Documents. Gdevelop project. My project. Manual save. Oh, no. What have I done? All right, there we go. Yes, correct. What Zero just said is absolutely correct. Um, based on yes, yes, yes. Let me put that into practice then. All right, guys. So this is the way that this is going to work. We need to change the width of this to yeah, we're just not going to use that. We're going to use unit distance to cursor XY. And in this case, we're not going to get rid of the XY and we're going to use the target location. It's just more accurate. And that's only because of layers. It's better to add a crosshair and then fix it to your cursor and then hide it. And then we're going to change the angle of the position. I could technically just rotate it towards another object, which would do the same thing. What's up with the minus 180, my guy? Well, we're almost there. I can't focus here. Okay, so rotate. Why did I do that? That's why. Okay. Huh. Oh, sorry, Pooh. I wasn't paying attention. I wasn't reading it. Yeah. I will copy your variables. Sorry, I was I'm like half in my own world for a minute. I can't join call right now because I'm in stream, but I can definitely help you. What do you need help with in your physics while I'm adjusting this? Um, okay, change the width of the. Oh, everything got messed up when I. All right, all right, here we go. Oh, to fully describe, it's okay, Pooh. I'll be able to help you in a second. You can message me on Discord while I'm working, and I'll give it a read in just a moment. Um, I'm looking for my Discord, is what I'm trying to do. All right, so we're gonna change the width. Let's set it to unit. Distance. Hello. Unit. Distance to position, and that needs to be. For now, we're just gonna use the cursor X, cursor Y, just to make this simple. We are going to change the angle. And we're going to set that equal to unit dot angle to position. And we're going to do the cursor as well. Then we need to change the position of. We can leave that actually. And then we're going to change the position of the tiled arrow. So now that we've scaled it, or now that we've linked, we've gotten its angle and its width. We can now set it to unit. I'm just going to copy this from your actual message so I don't have to do this. And this needs to be unit. I don't know why the minus 180. I think that's the size of your sprite. So I'm going to need to set it to my size, which is 32, I believe. But we'll check that out in a moment. Unit. 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 Not sure exactly why that didn't work. What is happening? I'll have to look at it closely. The 180's angle don't change, yeah. Wait, what just guys? Is it just me or did my entire thing just reset? What happened here? I'm telling you, there's something wrong. Do you guys see this? How did this just happen? I don't have another Discord open. It just reset again. This is the second time. Wow. Buggy. I'm like, I'm never going to make any progress here if it keeps making me have to redo this every time. I'm literally going to cry. Stop this. What is your problem? Why are you harassing me? What have I done to you? Will do. You know, I did that. Guys. 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 What? What's happening? Every time I open Meld Studio, this happens. Okay, watch this. Ready? Now I'm going to close this. Huh. My stream just crashed. Interesting. Interesting. Huh. All right. Well, I'm not sure what happened there. But my Gdevelop is having a fit. Oh, my goodness. I don't know what its problem is. Okay. So my Discord or my Gdevelop just straight up. Oh, okay. Oh, absolutely. Nothing. I can just paste it over to you too. Sorry about that. But it just went away again. Guys. I'm gonna cry. What is happening? There's a solution for you. Sorry that this is happening, guys. I'm not sure why. I'm gonna be honest. I'm not sure why. And it just came back. Hey, what's going on, Henry? Yeah, doing well, thanks. Okay. Now my Discord won't open. What is happening? Is it like a Windows thing? It is a Windows thing. Hello, Windows. Windows, why are you doing that? It created like a whole nother workspace for me. Okay. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. But now my... I don't... Why is this happening, though? That's what I want to know. I see. I see. Okay. I can fix this. We're going to move this here. We're going to move that here. Sorry, guys. I got screenception going on because for some reason, Windows has decided it wanted to open a new workspace. Oh, never mind. It's gone again. What? Windows! Please! Please stop, Windows. All right. So here's what we're going to do. Now that I've got this back into place, we are going to change the width of the object. The width of the object needs to be, the unit distance to, we're going to say the whatever the target location is, and that's going to be the X and the Y location. We're going to duplicate that and set that to angle and set to, and in this case, we need it to be the unit caps, angle to position, angle to position, angle to position. We're also going to do cursor X, cursor Y. And now comes the complicated part, but it doesn't have to be. So I'm going to replace all of that with unit. One second. Just so I don't have to, I'm going to copy all this over and I'll explain it. We're going to change position. Position. And we're going to copy that and paste it into here. So it's the unit's X position minus the X from angle to distance. We're passing in the unit's position minus 180 for the rotation. And then we're doing the same thing with the distance to it. So basically what we just pulled above it, we're putting into it. And then we're going to do the same thing, but with Y. So just go through and make sure you change, I believe it's just that one. Oh, and right here. Yes. Now, we should have a functioning draw, but my draw is goofy for some reason. Because we're drawing to a mouse, a dynamic position, but it's pretty close. And I want to say this is actually my fault because the second part actually needs to be, one second, backwards, I believe. No, I'm not sure why it's scaling that way. Is my anchor point funny? Let me think about this. And my Discord just crashed again, or did the goofy thing. Hello? Okay, guys. Yeah, I don't know what is going on. It's crashing, it's closing, it's reopening. I'm going to go ahead and probably restart here in a minute. I'm not sure what exactly is going on with my PC, but it is giving me I'm not sure what is going on, but it is being goofy. It keeps opening and closing every time I try to open a window, and I'm not sure what that's about. What's going on, Puko? But more or less, that is how you do that. If you need any more help on that, get some assistance from Zero. Zero definitely knows how to adjust that. But we would just replace some of these locations with the block that we wanted, and that's it. So just change the width and then angle it. No, he's got it. I'm scared that if I touch any more buttons, this is gonna break. So let me save this and do a Discord or a Gdevelop restart. That worked flawlessly without problem. Hello. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I don't know why. Let me. Okay, hold on. My phone's blowing up. Give me 1 second, boys. All right. They are not Zero. Not that I'm aware of. Sorry, I just got back. I believe they just added me through uh Discord. Here, my Discord just did the thing again. Dude, it totally is jumping between. Hold on. Get out of your desktop too. Did I fix it? Hey, I fixed it. Windows 11. Yeah, I know. I know. I was about to fix this. Yep. Yep. And that's how that works. I realized that too, Zero, when I was sitting here looking at it finally. Yeah. Behold! Exactly what he wanted. Look at you. Being all helpful and shit. Alright, we did that. Nothing got their help. Alright. Moving on. No, yeah, right? Here's your. Let me open it just so you can see it. Check this out. I can show you something even better. Watch this, nothing. Okay, I'm going to copy this and paste it to you directly inside of Discord. If you copy all of that and just press it and you press paste, you have to click on one of these edges and just press paste. It'll automatically paste it in for you. So it just works. And if you need any help, you can go back and rewatch the last 35 minutes of this. Tell me it won't work. Look at this. Method in hand. No problem. Happy game making, man. If I was to do like a waypoint system, like a pathfinding, I would have it put this to the pathfinding point and then draw again from that pathfinding point to another one to get angles. I've been using Gdevelop for 4 years on and off. I haven't been using it for a while because I've been working on my own game from the ground up and also engine. But that was before Gdevelop added back the 3D. So we'll see. I've been away for a little while. I chopped my finger off and had to get it put back on and had to go through lots of physical therapy. So yeah, so I've been gone for a while. It's been weird to learn how to do all this with a damaged thumb, but that's okay. Hard to use a mouse. Yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna put that back up for a second. I'm not sure where all of my stuff is. Yeah, I was removing a battery. Uh, and pulling a battery out of a vehicle, and it's 100 and something pounds. So it chopped, like I dropped it, and it just chopped my whole hand. I have permanent sutures inside of my hand, so it's like it feels like an ant is crawling around every time I wiggle my thumb around, which is maddening. I'll let you know, absolutely maddening. Okay. Let me open this. I don't want to make sure I don't accidentally share code stuff or anything. You know how it be. All right, back to what we were doing. So this is currently a project I am working on. Using my engine. It's based off of, it uses Pixie.js, just like Gdevelop does. You can't mine until you own it. This guy's derpy. My engine will be, yeah. Yeah. I'm building a game to then make the engine go. It will. Yeah. I'm working on that right now. It's based I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but this is Play Canvas, and I'm using Play Canvas's user interface tools to build the UI. They have a bunch of pre-built stuff. They also make a web engine, but it'll look a lot like this. Well, that's a matter of perspective. Here's some mock-up tests of just programming and stuff I'm doing on the side, but it's designed. It will have a node-based editor. So rather than the event sheets, it's you drag the nodes together. So it works a little bit like Unreal, but it's designed to be user-friendly and easy to use. And here's just some of me doing building. I love RTSs. I got a problem here with that one. Oh, there we go. Build my refinery. check this out. I'm changing a couple things on the back end. I'm replacing my skins because I have much better skins. These were, I'm trying to design this team to look a little bit like Aperture Science. So everything's kind of white and blue and red. For those who don't know, that would be Portal. This does not want me to harvest the gas. Oh, thanks, cursor. And here is my default command center for that team. There, check this out. I really enjoy this one. I'm not. No. I actually I have cursor on the side for a few things, mostly for like tab editing. But when I want to do like a quick change based on, because I have a bunch of SVGs, I'm just like, hey. Look at that thing. Isn't that sweet? That's all done in engine. All of these sprites are done in engine, just using simple shapes. You could do the same thing in Gdevelop. Oh, hopium. I was like, what? No, I don't meme, dude. Oh, yeah. Got you. Got you. Got you. It's been a minute since I've seen any of those Half-Life memes. But yeah, so it's going to be a bit like Northgard, a little bit like StarCraft. You're going to have civilization management, power management. That's my reactor. I love RTS games, but I'm integrating this with, I'll be using something very unique called Spacetime DB. This is amazing. Spacetime is absolutely amazing. So for those that don't know, there's a game that came out called Bitcraft Online. Highly recommend that you give it a shot if you haven't played it. It costs a little bit, but very interesting. This company that made this game, created this new method of. Oh, I love ads. Thank you for all the ads in my face. Created this new database system for MMOs. It's a backend infrastructure for MMORPGs, and what happens is it uses Rust and puts all of your MMO features inside of a database entry rather than running your infrastructure on top of something like a normal server. So the server backend is completely different, and this allows it to be done, edited, and used in real time with absolutely zero like. I mean, the latency on this thing is incredible. You can self-host it, and so it's completely renovating the way that MMOs work. So you can build an MMO shard system where there are multiple servers hosting the entire game world, and they're all interconnected. And the way that it works is it removes all of the heavy backend for servers. So positioning X and Y locations are actually done inside of a real-time database. And so in very real time, we can keep track of absolutely everything that's happening in the game in a way that is minute. They do. They do have C# bindings or C++. Um, but it allows for an infinite number of players. Basically, I mean, I can host something near 100,000 players on 4 gigs of RAM on four. I have not. Let me read that now. Let me read that real fast. There is a pricing on it, but you can host it for free. So you can run hundreds of thousands of concurrent players with very minimal infrastructure. It's plug and play, almost like it takes very little in comparison. So we're talking about server infrastructure. Imagine making an application that has like user tokens and or just any application, and you want to push an update to a user. You can do it in real time without making them restart their game, for example. There's tons of applicational use for Spacetime DB. So if you guys have a moment, try the demo, watch the video. This is absolutely incredible. They're literally making Bitcraft Online to show off how revolutionary they're making this. So no more Docker, no more Kubernetes. It literally runs on air, which is crazy. Let me go back and read this real quick, Pooh. I wish. Okay, so I'm watching. I'm I'm watching your game here. So what are you trying to do in your game? I'm watching all of the madness that is the physics of that game. Okay, so now what are you trying to do with your physics? Because I totally see what you're trying to do. This game is, you got some memes going on here, guy. The way that he looks is, I just don't know what to do about that. I don't know what to do about that. I'm waiting here for Pooh to reply to me so I know what we're working on. Oh, you want to work on that whole thing? No, it's not complex at all. I thought that you had done that. I understand. So you want to? Oh, okay, okay. All right, check this out. I got you, bud. You ready? We're gonna make a new player unit. We're gonna call this Sanic. Here's our Sanic. Let me hold on. We'll get there. I got you. I hate using pit. Yeah, the new Sanic. All right, Piscal, don't do me dirty here. Oh, sweet. Just gonna add some of these bad boys around. We got our new Sanic. Uh oh. What have I done? Boom. Oh. Sure. Whatever, guy. Let's just... It's Piscal is Dookie. I can't. Alright. Sanic. I need you to... Not... Yeah, there we go. There we go. That's our Sanic. Sanic the... I don't want to call him a hedgehog because he doesn't really look hedgehoggy, but I got you, don't worry. Sweet. Oh, what am I? I forgot his... Hold on. How dare I? I forgot that. You know what I'm saying? He's got to get a little bit of that going on. There we go. Oh, God. This is cursed. Are you gonna fill in or what, dude? What? 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 No. Why? There we go. What if I, like, move that below? No, it needs to be above. Alright. There he is. Beautiful. So now we need... we need... Alright. Alright, so we have Sanic, right? Sanic needs to have his physics movement. Why are we doing... Okay. We can just do platformer, right? But I guess you want to do physics-based platforming, don't you? That's all right. We'll just do physics. Dun dun dun. Well, yeah, you need both, right? So physics, 2D, will allow you to make objects that are, well, that have physics, right? But then we need to add the, and that'll be for the physical body, so that his body gets like bounced around and whatnot. He's dynamic, absolutely. So we got Sanic, and now we need to make a add another behavior and add platformer. All right. So this will give us the default movement controls for our character. And then we'll also have our physics. So when we create our floor, we're gonna turn our floor into a tiled sprite. Oh my goodness. Well, there's things that we can do, right? So we have to make our own platformer, and I'll explain how to do that. But first we're gonna, like, because we have to, one piece at a time. I promise you, I can do this. So this is gonna be called floor space, I guess. We're gonna create this in Piscal. Zoom out. Let's see here. We need... No, that's not good enough. We need this. It will, when I'm done with it. I'll explain it all in a second. Actually, that should be like grass, right? I'll explain why it doesn't work, for one, and then we'll go through and we'll make it work. Promise. Yeah. It would only be better if it actually connected, right? So let's fix that problem. That looks terrible. We need to do it like this. There we go. Piscal. Piscal. Nailed it. I did it. Aren't you happy? Thanks, Ma. Alright. I don't know why I did it like that. Let me... Ah! I hate Piskel. Why Piskel? Sure. Now we have that. We're gonna add the physics. Yes, brown grass. I love brown grass. You're right. There's about 1,000 other ones that would be better. We need to make the platform a physics object instead of a normal platforming behavior object. And we'll set its layer and masking here. So because it's static, it's not going anywhere. We're going to go ahead and do this. Oh, yeah. All right. So now we have this problem, right? We're connected, but we can't jump or anything. And that's because the platform doesn't have the platform physics. And our character is colliding with it as a physics object, but it's being pulled down by gravity because it can't register this as a 2D platform. So if we went in here, we could do this two ways. We can now add this as a platform. Okay. Add the platform behavior onto it. And just set it like that. And look. Now we have janky movement. Yay, jank. So now we're going to add another piece of floor. And we're going to see if we can't just like... Oh yeah, there we go. That's what you wanted, right? Sweet, awesome, tipped over, can't jump. But you want to still be able to jump, right? Okay, so now what we got to do is go into here. And I think that the jank is part of the humor of it, so we're going to just leave the jank in all the time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go into our game, and we're going to check for the input of our key press. So if the key was pressed, and we're going to do space. So if space key is pressed, and the player, Sanic, is unable to jump. So we're going to go to jump. Can jump, false. Because it's currently flipped over on its side, so it wouldn't be able to jump. So when we press the space key and he can't jump, we're going to do a physics jump. So we're going to go to Sanic, and do force. We're going to apply a force. I don't know what the length is for. 20. Hold on. Add force. Add a force. Angle is 90? Negative 90? I think it needs to be an impulse, for one. I'm pretty sure. I'm really... Hold on. Apply impulse. Impulse at an angle? Angle's negative 90? Length? I don't know. Oh, that would be, come on, little X. Oh! that work? Ah! We did it! Ah! We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. It shouldn't do what? That part? Isn't that kind of what you wanted, though? The game that you showed me. Got him. Because the game There you go. I hate everything about this. But he's only supposed to be able to move while he's on his feet, right? And that was the whole point. There we go. Okay, we'll do. Give me a second. Yeah, he's supposed to be on his side, right? What am I missing there? He has those physics. If he was on top of here, right? Wait, he can't... When he's on the ground? Is that what you're saying? Yeah. We can change it any way we want. I'm just saying... And that's just... I mean, that's just me playing with it, right? You can set your own... And also we'd want to build some sort of way to help him get back upright. So he's like supposed to be standing straight and not upside down. So we can apply forces to him to put him back up more often. And that would fix this part. But ideally what you would want to do is not use the built-in player movement and instead use build your own custom one. So to do that, we would go into our Sanic object and go into behaviors, and we would disable the default controls. And once we do that, arrow keys don't work, space key don't work, right? That's okay, because once I go to too much work, it's easy. What are you talking about? See, but now you can have physics instead of all that jitter. So we got rid of the jittering, and now what we can do instead is very simply, if the right key, hello, if, let's say, A is pressed, we're going to apply 180, not 189, 180 at a object length of 1. What the? Let's, I need to do it the other way too. D. Let's just be 0. You need what? Deacceleration. Yeah. That you don't need to do that. It's called friction. Home slice. It's right here. So put the friction up to 1. Okay, well, maybe not that one. Let me change that back to 0. Okay, well, we have a little bit of work to do, right? But I don't know if this is making it stronger or... Oh, yeah. Okay. Hey, look. You wanted Sonic? We But all you gotta do is play with his, the weight and stuff of the character. So go in here and add density to like 5. There you go. Let's look at this guy. Oh, he's heavy. That's not even enough force on the left and right to even move him now. Yeah! Alright. But that's it though. Like, I wish I could explain it in a more difficult way, because that's basically all you have to do. And now you've got basic movement, acceleration, deacceleration, and the saddest jump I've ever seen in my life. And you can simply just check, right? So if the space key is pressed and Sonic is on the ground, or is in collision with the ground. So if he's in collision with the floor, do that. Put that at like, I don't know, 10. Put this at 2. Put this at 2. Wah! Okay, that's 2's too much. 1. So yeah, if you don't want to manually do it, then what? Like, what are you talking about, jumping over the wall? I see the video you sent me, but you're not really, it doesn't really explain anything to me, my guy. So if you wanted, let's say, the floor to be jagged. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Up, over, put it like that. Just the goofiest thing. It's because it's adding a ever increasing impulse. That should just be force. Probably not impulse. I think impulse is steady. Or no, impulse. Well, being that I can't move now, we're just going to put all this to 10 because I need to make sure it's working. Did I do that correctly? Come on, Sanic. Sanic does not move. That's okay. What video are you trying to send me? Are you looking for it? So I guess this was an impulse. I guess unless I have to do, because I added, he's got like huge mass now, and now it needs to be like 100. Oh, okay. Ah, yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. I need to do linear velocity so that he stops flying. Is he auto jumping? Is that what I'm seeing? I'm not. Okay. So it is jumping automatically. So check this out. Yeah. So check this out. Super easy. If you want to make it jump by itself, go to Sanic, go to his points, add a new point right here. Jump check. If you're pressing space, or if space key is pressed, or Sanic's point is inside, and the we're gonna do floor space. Sorry, floor space target point, and it needs to be Sanic dot point X, and we'll go point X. Inside of point X is now jump check. So if I get close enough, he's jumping. See? Now, this is wild, right? Because we have some Sonic problems. Because I haven't, spent the time to refine its movement. That's not my job. That's your job. You want to make a game? You refine it, all right? But what I will say, let's go back to this. And then we're going to set this actually to like 150. But that's how you would do it. So it's way too far away, right? Like, we're not actually jumping the way that we should. So we're going to do this at like 2000. And then also, come on. Oh, this needs to be an impulse. That's why. A 5. This should be an impulse. Yeah. You just put a check all the way around him, but he's jumping upside down. There you go. You can see it when I bump into it. It like really jumps me away. But now we should do, because Sanic's origin is at his feet, we should put it in his belly, because this is where he's jumping from. And now he should be jumping from his middle once I fix him. Billy. It won't even let me. How big is his hitbox? Okay. Alright, let's move it out of his frame. Well, he's not going up, but we're going to figure that out. Am I confused? Normally, that would be the problem. There we go. Yeah, it is. He's sending me a video of some of his stuff. An old game that he wants to remake. But now we just need to fix the floating issue. Ah! Yeah, I do a little bit of Godot, or Godot, rather. But anyways, yeah. So all we need to do is change this back to a force, and then we need to just change his linear velocities because he's so big. We'll do like 5 and 5. And then we're gonna need to put this back up to like 1,000. There he goes. There you go. See? There you go. That's the code. Let me organize that a little bit better for you, actually. That way you don't have to like duplicate everything again. We're just going to put that into a group. A group called poo. And there you go. You just have to remake Sanic unless you want that sprite. Don't worry, I got you. Well, now you have a whole video to reflect back on and hear me struggle bus along the way. There, I sent you those beautiful sprites too. Yeah, no problem. Happy to help. We'll fix his gravity. That's what's making him so floaty. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That's the stuff right there. So if you need any more help, just let me know. Happy to do it. But that's kind of it, guys. Unless there's any more questions for today, that's all I have in terms of Gdevelop. I'm glad to have been around to help some people today and speak through how to use Gdevelop a little bit more. I'm going to be coming back to my tutorials here pretty soon, going back through how to use Gdevelop, and moreover, how to use Gdevelop in 3D. Looking forward to doing that. Wonderful. All right, guys. Until next time, remember, happy game making. I'll see you guys in the next video.